not about the Antichrist. It's not about wars. It's not about the economy and all these things that that are going to happen. But the goal is that we spread the gospel of Jesus Christ, and also that we not be ignorant Christians. That we not be ignorant Christians. I'm not saying that in a mean way, but we have to be Christians that are informed and to know what we know and what's in the Bible. I mean, to be knowledgeable, that's a good word. To be knowledgeable of what's in the Bible. Too many Christians nowadays are good people. They love God, but they don't know how to, they couldn't stand against anybody else out on the street or another religion because they don't have knowledge of the Bible. And they need to, and this is why these classes are here, so that we have an understanding and know what we believe. So lo que estoy diciendo es que es importante de saber lo que sabemos de la Biblia. No ser cristianos ignorantes de la palabra. Porque hay mucha gente que son buenos cristianos, son buena gente, tienen buenos corazones, pero los confrontan con algo de la letra y no saben. Y los hacen garras en el mundo. Okay? So we have to y por eso hacemos estas clases para enseñar, para aprender y para también para, how do you say, to share, para compartir con otros lo que aprendemos. Okay? So open up your Bibles to Daniel chapter 9, and we're gonna try. I've got only 2 pages, and I feel like this is about 3 classes in just those 2 pages. So Daniel chapter 9, verse 24. This is where we were last week. Daniel capítulo 9, versículo 24. Okay. Now we're not going to go through everything I went through last week. I'm just going to recap it really quick. Okay. So no voy todo el capítulo o los versículos como la semana pasada, pero me voy pronto. Okay. So if you have any questions, also look at our video from last week. Session number 6. It deals with Daniel chapter 9, 70 weeks, more in detail. So, but Daniel chapter 9, let's go ahead and read 24 and 25. Okay, vamos a leer versículos 24 y 25 de Daniel capítulo 9. Okay, it says this. It says, 70 weeks are determined unto thy people and upon the holy city. If you're reading NIV, it says 70 sevens. Okay, 70 weeks are determined unto thy people and upon the holy city to finish, and here's the reasons. To finish a transgression, to make an end of sins, to make reconciliation for iniquity, and to bring in everlasting righteousness, and to seal lasting righteousness, and to seal up the vision and prophecy, and to anoint the most holy. The NIV says the most holy place. Okay? Verse 25. Know therefore, and understand that from the going forth of the commandment to restore and to build Jerusalem, unto the Messiah the Prince shall be 7 weeks, and 62 weeks, and the street shall be built again, and the wall even in troublous times. Now, last week's class dealt with those 2 verses. The whole class was about verse 24 and 25. Okay. Now, 70 weeks. I'm going to just recap it. 70 weeks or 77s. Okay. The week is not referring to a week like we know a week. 7 days. A week is 1 day equals 1 year. 1 day equals 1 year. Okay, so if you have 70 weeks, and every week has 7 days, so you go 70 times 7 is how many years? 490 years. Okay. 1 week, 1 day is a year.
Okay, so 1 week.
So 1 week is 7 years.
Yeah.
Okay. So you have 70 weeks times 7, because there's 7 days in a week. So that's 490 years. Okay. Now, verse 24 and 25 cover 69 weeks, or 483 years. Okay, that was from last week. That's class from last week. So, de la semana pasada, 70 semanas quiere decir 490 años. Versículo 24 y 25 cumple 69 años, que son 483 años. When you take 483 from 490, how many years are left? 7. There's still 7 weeks that are left that are out in no man's land in the future that God's going to deal with. Okay? Now, so God is telling Daniel, when he talks to Daniel, he goes, 70 weeks are determined for your people. Who's Daniel's people? The Jews. Not the Gentiles, the Jews. So God is going to deal with the Jews for 490 years. Okay? 490 years. And when those 490 years are done, it means that if you read verse 24, it's to bring in everything into past, to fix up everything. That all sin, all iniquity, everything is going to be dealt with. Okay? And he's going to bring in righteousness. In other words, God says, at the end of the 70 weeks, I'm done. I'm done. This is it. Eternity starts. La eternidad comienza después de los 70 años. Okay? But then in verse 25, he breaks down the 70 weeks. Okay? You guys remember that from last week? Or you guys already all forgot it? Ya se les olvidó, ¿verdad?
You said it. At the end of those eternity stops or eternity starts?
Eternity begins. Yeah.
Okay, it's not like you said stop.
Okay. Now, do you guys want me to bring the board out again one more time? I can do that. Real simple. Yeah? All right. Okay. Because I'm getting a lot of deer in the headlight looks.
Take a picture of it.
I'm getting...
You said I read it.
Okay. 70 times 7 is equal to 490 years. Okay? That's 70 weeks. 1 week. 1 week equals 1 year. I mean, 7 years. 7 years. 7 years. Okay? So that's 490 years that God is going to deal with the Jews. Okay? So cuando lees el versículo 25 dice 70 semanas son determinadas a tu gente. So Dios va a tratar con los judíos por 490 años. Pero el versículo 25, en 26, in verse 26, Daniel is going to break up these 490 years into eras, into time. Okay? Okay? So, okay? This is 490 years, okay? But God's going to break it up, okay? Now, let's go to verse 25. Vamos al versículo 25. It says, therefore, know therefore, and understand. Now, you guys read that? What does it say?
No.
Know and what?
Understand.
And understand. In other words, listen up, is what the Bible is actually saying. And the way we would say it today, God is saying, hey, pay attention here and understand what I'm telling you. Okay? Es lo que está diciendo Dios aquí. Entiendan lo que estoy diciendo y sepan lo que estoy diciendo y entiendan lo que le estoy diciendo. Know therefore and understand. Okay, it says here, here's the first part. Here's where the 490 years start. There's a time clock. Okay? You see, now stop. The beginning of these 490 years is this. Is here.
Lock the door.
What's the door?
No,
No.
no, isn't. No, isn't.
No.
Alert.
Okay. It says, here's the beginning of the 490 years. Know therefore understand that from the going forth of the commandment, the command to restore and to build Jerusalem, okay, unto the Messiah the Prince shall be 7 weeks. If 7 weeks is how many years? 7 times 7?
449.
No, 7 times 7, 49.
49, okay.
49, okay? Okay, and 62 weeks. This is King James. That means 62 years. Okay? So 62 and 7 is what? 69. 69 weeks. Okay? That's 483 years. There's still 7, there's a week missing. There's still 7 years missing. Okay?
Why
So-
are we going to learn math as adults?
Okay. So here it says, the prince shall be 7 weeks and 62 weeks, or in other words, it'll be 49 years and 62 years. The street shall be built, or 62 weeks shall be built again, and the wall even a couple of times. Here's what he's saying.
Then why does it say, why does it break it down? Will be 7 weeks and 62 weeks. Is
I'm
that
going to explain
this
it right now.
plus?
I'm
Oh,
going to
that's where
explain it
you're
right
going.
now. I'm going right here. Okay. In the year, and most scholars agree on this year, okay? In 444 BC, 444 años antes de Cristo, 444 BC, in your Bible you have a book called Nehemiah. En tu Biblia tienes un libro de Nehemías. King Artaxerxes gave Nehemiah the command to go back to Jerusalem and build the walls and the streets of Jerusalem. That is where this is where this begins. This 490 years starts with that command. Okay, let me say it again. In the year 444, in your book of Nehemiah, and most scholars agree on this date, Nehemiah got permission from King Artaxerxes to go back to Jerusalem and build the wall and build the streets of Jerusalem, to build the city again. Okay? Now, here's another thing you have to know. Before your book of Nehemiah, you have a book called Ezra. Okay? You have Ezra and then Nehemiah. Ezra is about 20 years before Nehemiah. Ezra got permission before Nehemiah to go back to Jerusalem, but he went back to rebuild the temple, not the city. Okay? He got permission to rebuild the temple, not the city. Okay? So Nehemías agarró permiso de ir para atrás a Jerusalén y levantar las paredes y componer las calles de Jerusalén. Ezra, que era antes de Nehemías 20 años, cuando él se fue para atrás, él nomás le dio permiso para levantar, para componer el templo, because he was a priest. He was a priest, so he was a scribe, so he was allowed to do that. But the Daniel tells us, it goes back to verse 26. 26, it says, after 62 weeks shall Messiah be cut off. Verse 25. From the going forth of command to restore and to build Jerusalem, not the temple. Okay, that's the key right there. That's the key, to rebuild Jerusalem. Aquí le dijo, aquí Daniel, el ángel le dice a Daniel que cuando el mandamiento de restaurar a Jerusalén, no más el templo. And that was with Nehemiah in this year right here. Okay. Now, what does the King James say again? You were saying it says 7, and then 40, and then 60.
42 weeks.
And
42.
42.
I'm sorry, 62 weeks.
Okay.
7 weeks and 62.
Okay. When you add the 62 and the 7 weeks, you get 69 weeks.
Right.
Okay. And then it says that at the end of 69 weeks, let's go to 26, and I'll show here. At verse 26, it says, after 62 weeks, after 62 weeks, okay, shall Messiah be cut off, but not for himself. Okay? So here's what he's saying. Your Bible says, by King James, and also yours says, there's 7 weeks first, right? Mm-hmm. There's 7. Mm-hmm. But we know that 7 weeks, when you convert it, is 49 years. Right. Okay? And then you got 62 weeks. Right? 62 weeks. Somebody's going to tell me with a math, because I'm not that good.
You're the engineer.
Okay. So you got 49 here. So from here, Messiah shall be cut off. That's when Jesus was crucified. When Messiah shall be cut off. That's when the cross, right? That's why I drew the cross. That's the crucifixion. From here to here is 483 years. What's 483 minus 49?
434.
How much?
434.
434?
Did you really just do that in your head?
No.
Okay.
Or you already had it?
Okay. Why 49? ¿Por qué 49? Because it took them 49 years to rebuild Jerusalem. ¿Por qué dice 7 y después 62? Okay.
So was it rebuilding
Porque cuando comenzaron duraron 49 años para cumplir la muralla, la pared y para componer. Duraron 40, que son que this is what's called 7 weeks right here.
Is that that's Ezra?
No, this is the time of Nehemiah and Ezra.
And Ezra, okay.
Understand this, okay? I wish I had a bigger thing here. Ezra, the book of Esther, and the book of Nehemiah are all contemporaries. They all live within the same lifespan. Yeah.
Was Ezra able to work on the temple as,
When the Bible,
As Nehemiah-
Nehemiah, the book of Nehemiah tells us that Ezra is still hanging around when all this is happening.
so most
Yeah.
likely he was still working on the
Yeah,
grounds
yeah, yeah.
while.
Uh-huh. So, sepan que el libro de Ezra, el libro de Esther y el libro de Nehemiah, esas tres personas vivieron en el mismo tiempo. En el mismo tiempo. Porque cuando lees Nehemiah, el libro de Nehemiah, Ezra todavía anda ahí. He's an older man, but ahí anda todavía. It's only like 20 years. It's not that long. It's not that long, okay? During that those two books. So you got 7 weeks, and then you have 62 weeks. This is what 62 weeks is. And here, la crucificación is where it says, this is verse 26 of what we're reading right now. Are you with me there? You got me? Okay. It says, know therefore understand that from the going forth of the commandment to restore and to rebuild Jerusalem unto the Messiah the Prince shall be 7 weeks, right here, and 60 or 62 weeks, okay, from here to here, and the street shall be built again, and the wall even in troublous times, okay. But there's still 7 weeks left, right? There's still 7 weeks. Todavía faltan 7 semanas para cumplir los 490, right? So by the time from the command to rebuild Jerusalem until the crucifixion is 483 years. There's still 1 week left, or 7 years. Okay. There's a gap of time in there, because what happens here, between here to here? It's the church age. Es el tiempo de la iglesia.
When do you remember that? I'm so proud of you.
Es donde estamos ahorita. This is where we're at right now. This is going to end at the rapture. Okay. Okay. El tiempo de la iglesia, the time of the church is going to be from the crucifixion or from the Pentecost. Okay. From the time of Pentecost, which was the same year that Jesus was only 50 days after the crucifixion. Okay. To the rapture. There's this gap here. So far, we're almost at 2,000 years. We haven't quite reached it yet. So de aquí al rapture, okay, el rapto de aquí es el tiempo de la iglesia. We don't know what that time is. It doesn't tell us.
Right.
Este tiempo no nos dice. La Biblia no nos dice que es el tiempo aquí.
It's not accounted for.
Yeah, it's not accounted. Okay, there's a gap. Okay, and there's a reason. Okay. Everything in the Bible, even the second coming of Jesus, everything, you're giving, you know the signs, and you know what's going to happen. Porque en la Biblia, hasta la segunda venida de Cristo, the second coming, not the rapture, nos dice qué es lo que va a pasar antes que llegue Cristo. Son 7
The
años.
second millennial coming? Is that
Yeah, well, no, I'm talking about his coming, yeah, it's
the millennial. Second
Seven, we know that it's 7 years. Sabemos que son 7 años. Okay, we know it's 7 years from the time of the rapture to his second coming. Okay, but the rapture, the Bible never tells us. El rapture nunca nos dice en la Biblia cuándo
Right, because
va a pasar.
Everybody will be waiting for that time the day before to get ready.
Exactly.
I'll repent.
Okay, so now here,
Right?
When I see it, I believe it.
Exactly, that's what people are doing now.
but it's not that we're without warning. We know it's coming.
Exactly.
Okay, no es que no sabemos de cuál día.
Yeah.
Okay, this rapture here has a lot to do with the church being called the bride of Christ. That's another lesson. Okay, because Jesus is coming for his bride.
Right.
Porque Jesús viene por su novia, que es la iglesia. That's us. See, and in Jewish custom, they never knew when the groom was going to come back. It was always a surprise. Okay, it says, "Be ready." Okay, hence the 10 virgins with the oil waiting for the groom. Be ready, get your oil ready. Okay.
Where is this in your map there? Where is the second coming of Jesus?
Way over here,
At the end,
after the
okay,
tribulation.
After the 7 years.
So
This is the tribulation period.
The 7 years.
so before
Over here, right here.
After the 7 years?
After
That's
the
the trip is the 7 years.
After the tribulation. How many? Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, because you take the 7 years tribulation and Jesus Christ comes back for the second coming.
Yeah, hold on, let me get here, all right, go ahead.
We need more space. You know, you would have done really well with that paper that sticks, and you could put it right in front of your.
Yeah, okay, we can talk about it there. All right, so now we got 483 years from here to here. We got the gap year of the church. Y los últimos 7 años, this last 7 years, is this year right here of the tribulation. So God is going to deal. Remember, He's dealing with the Jews from here to here. Remember what He told Daniel. He goes, 70 weeks are accounted for your people. Your people. Okay, 70 años son determinadas para tu gente, que son los judíos. So for 483 years, God deals with them here, and then here it all ends. And they lose their nation, they lose the temple, they lose Jerusalem. Okay?
And I have a question about that. And I don't know if this pertains, because obviously then the Jews lose everything at that point.
Right.
But then back in the 7-year trib area, is there like a time, does it show anywhere in the scripture where the time, besides we know that the 144,000, but is that like, is there any time allotted to that?
The whole 7 years is
Just the
allotted
whole
to them.
7 years?
Is allotted to them.
The whole 7
The
years?
whole 7 years, okay? Now, we know that somewhere in here, way over here somewhere, in 1948, Israel became a nation again. Okay, and there's other studies on that, okay, but I can't get all that into that right now. En 1948, Israel se hizo una nación otra vez. Okay.
And in 2019.
And then in 2019, you know, it just things have happened, okay? From 1948 to the 1967 war to the 1973 war to the Jubilee of this year or last year, a lot of things happened, okay? So we see the things going, but let's get back to Daniel, okay? I don't want to get sidetracked.
It says in the time of tribulation, it says in Daniel 9:27, is in the middle of the 7, he'll put an end to sacrifice and offering.
Yeah, we're going to get into that.
Yeah.
We'll get into that in a second here. I just want to break down the 70 weeks right now.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought I was on 27.
Yeah, okay, no, it's okay, no, it's fine. Okay, but we're dealing here with the 70 weeks of Daniel, 490 years, encompasses from here all the way to the end of the tribulation.
That's the full
Okay,
490.
the full 490, only with a gap in the middle. So far, it's been almost 2,000 years. This is not part of it,
Right.
because it's only here. What's the key? The dealing with the Jews. Dealing with the Jews, and He dealt with the Jews from here to here. Okay.
The church.
Okay.
Church age.
Okay, the church age, and then because in the year 70, did I see that right? In the year 70, okay, AD, the Romans came in. That's when they destroyed Jerusalem. Okay, en años 70 es cuando entraron los romanos y destruyeron Jerusalén, and they destroyed the temple and everything. They just devastated. Everything's gone. Okay, but now in 1948, hey, they're back. Okay, and so somewhere in here is the rapture. So when you take the 483 here and the 7 years here that God deals with the Jews, you get your 490 weeks here. The 77. So now you know that when you hear pastors or teachers come and say, well, you got the time of the church, and you got the tribulation, and you got the millennium, it's all right here. That's where you get it from. God gave us a timeline of history to eternity. Porque Dios nos dio una tabla de tiempo de aquí del tiempo de Nehemiah hasta el futuro cuando viene Jesús otra vez. So, yes, sir.
Okay, but my question wasn't completely finished.
Uh-huh.
Okay, now at the end there, after the rapture, that's the second coming of the Lord.
Yes, right here, right
Okay,
here.
now where's the
No,
first?
actually, that's not. After
Let me
a
finish,
lot of-
let me
a lot of
finish,
pastors
Let him finish,
let me finish my question. Otherwise, it will get thrown off again. That's the second coming of the Lord
Over here.
over there. Where's the first coming of God, of Christ?
that's here he
The
came.
rapture? The rapture is here.
Okay.
No, the first coming is when he was
Jesus.
born.
No, right here.
That's
Right
when
here.
he was born.
About right here. About right here.
Okay.
Here's the year
Yeah.
0 when Jesus was born.
Yeah.
Remember, he only lived for 33 years.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the first coming.
The first coming is here.
So at the rapture,
It's
we
not.
don't.
It's not a coming. That's a confused.
It doesn't touch the bone.
It's not considered a people say it is, and a lot of pastors do it even on TV, and it throws me, because I have to ask Mike, wait a minute, I thought the second coming was a millennial age. So, is that what you're asking, Dad, too?
Well, that's what I was trying to get to.
It's
Is
kind
that
of
why
big.
the Jews are not, asking or saying that Jesus is the coming Messiah until the second coming of the Lord? That's when they're
For the Jews.
the Jews,
Yeah,
yeah.
for the Jews. See, the Jews don't see Jesus like we see Jesus, or the Messiah like we see the Messiah.
I think he's asking.
We, this is where Jesus was born in the year zero. Let's just say the year zero. That's it. That was his first coming, or when he was born as a man. He died here in the year 33. That's when he was crucified.
Yeah.
Okay, he was here. All right. The rapture is not the second coming. The rapture is not the second coming. Okay. The rapture, it says that we will meet him in the air. He doesn't come to the earth.
Dad, are you saying
Okay.
they don't, because that they don't recognize Jesus until
Yeah,
the
they're
second
waiting-
coming?
They're
I
waiting
think
on the
that's
first
what you're-
coming.
Huh?
You're
They're
saying
waiting on
they're
the
waiting on
first
the first
coming.
coming.
So they don't believe Jesus was
I
born.
can't,
Oh,
you
sorry.
both are talking at the same time and I can't.
Well, it's 'cause she don't stop. No, so what I'm saying is, you're saying that the Jews are still waiting on the first coming, correct?
Is that what you're
According to
saying?
Jewish.
Yeah.
'Cause they
Yes.
didn't believe him to be
Yeah,
the
the,
first
the,
place.
the Jews did not recognize Jesus as the Messiah. We
So
know that.
right now they're still
Okay.
waiting.
And
for
even
him.
right now, they're still waiting for a Messiah to come. Okay. Now, so they're gonna have to figure out how all the prophecies on the Old Testament are gonna fill this Messiah. Okay. Because if in the Old Testament, he's got to be born in he's got to be born in Bethlehem. He has to be born in a time where there's no Israel, there's no Jewish government. Okay, he has to be born of the line of David. All these things. Okay, he has to ride in on a donkey. He has to do all these things to fulfill prophecy. But see, the Jews are looking for a spiritual king. The Jews are looking for a government prince or a government leader to make Jerusalem a nation and lead the nation. They're looking
Almost
for
like a president.
they're looking for a human leader, not a
In the
spiritual
physical
leader.
sense.
So
Yeah.
we're calling
Rapture?
the or after the rapture, we're calling it the second coming of the Lord because we know that Jesus came
The first time,
the
Right.
first time.
right?
But for the Jews, that's not a second coming.
It's going to be like the first time, but they
But
will.
they're gonna realize it,
But
right?
in well, let's get to the study. Don't get to that. Okay? Yeah, we'll get to it. We'll get to
How are they
it.
gonna know it's
I'm
him?
too confused here.
Okay.
That's where.
We'll write it out. No, write it out.
We're wasting the preacher.
So we got the gap.
Mm-hmm.
So when you look at Daniel, verse 26 and 27, okay, right here, this whole area, right here, is verse 26.
Yeah.
This is verse 26 of Daniel.
Okay.
Okay? Here is verse 27. This is verse 27.
Okay.
So there's a gap between verse 26 and I'm saying this right? Yes. There's a gap between 26 and 27, which is the church age. Okay? So verse 26 is here. Versículo 26 de Daniel es esta era. Y versículo 27 que vamos a leer son estos últimos 7 años de la tribulación. Hay un tiempo entre medio, entre el versículo 26 y el versículo 27, que es la iglesia.
Yeah.
Okay? There's another, see, we also have to use the whole Bible, okay? Not just Daniel.
Yeah.
Paul tells us that the church is a mystery. La iglesia era un misterio that wasn't revealed to the Old Testament people. Okay, the church. La iglesia para los judíos era un misterio, the mystery of the church. This mystery of us being the body of Christ. All that is like foreign to the Jew. Todo eso es algo raro para el judío. That you would become part of the body of Christ or part of the Messiah. All that was, they didn't get that. Okay.
So then, now do they think we're just nuts?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, not all of them. It's
I
just
mean, no,
they
we
just
don't
don't
say-
believe what we believe. I mean,
Right.
they're still waiting for the Messiah. Okay, which is the reason they'll probably end up accepting the Antichrist,
So, but
thinking that he's the
but
Messiah.
as a whole, they think like all Christians are like just out there because they're following this man that they don't believe is
Right,
the Messiah.
right. In the ones that are religious,
Well, yeah.
because a lot of Jews are more what's it called? They're not Orthodox. A lot of Jews are even atheists. They don't,
Oh, I didn't
you
know
know, it's just, remember to be Jew, you're born a Jew,
that. Right.
okay? You're born a Jew, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you take on all the religion either. Okay? There's a lot of Jews that are very, what's the word I'm looking for? Well, they're just in the world. They're not,
Worldly.
yeah, they're not part of the,
Secular? Oh, we're
Like,
Christian.
yeah, we're
Like
Christian.
secular?
yeah, secular, that's the word I'm looking for. They're very secular. They're not religious. A lot of them are. You know, they don't even care about this stuff, okay? But the Orthodox Jews, yeah, they believe that, they believe that we're nuts. They believe that, oh, you believe this man and stuff, okay? But what's gonna happen here, when God deals with them here, and what happens in that time, which is the book of Revelation, they're gonna get so shaken up that they're gonna realize who Jesus is. They will realize at the end. But it takes all that.
In
It's
the
gonna take a-
tribulation, or did you say the second coming?
during the tribulation period.
That's
During
when
the
they're
tribulation period,
they're
they're
gonna
gonna
realize
realize who Jesus Christ is.
Okay.
Okay? Because once he shows up, they're all gonna know. The Bible says that when he shows up, everybody alive, even those under the ground, the demons are gonna kneel and say
Right.
he's Lord. So at that point, you got no choice. Okay?
They see Christ coming in the sky, they better believe.
Yeah.
I know, right?
All right, let's go to verse 27. It says, okay, so now verse 27 is dealing with this time period right here, the tribulation. Okay, so versículo 27 de Daniel está tratando con esta última 7 años de lo que es la tribulación. Okay, it says, and he shall confirm the covenant. Now that he is that guy that we call the Antichrist. Okay, because remember, we're now on this side. We're not over here anymore. We're over here. Okay. So it says he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week. There's that 1 week. What is 1 week? 7 years. The 7 years of tribulation from here to here.
It's just
Okay.
7 years.
Yeah.
And in the midst of the week, or in the middle of the week, he shall cause the sacrifice and the oblation to cease, and for the overspreading of abominations he shall make it desolate, or the abomination of desolation. What's he saying? Is what Derek was saying right now. En el medio de los 7 años, right here, at 3.5 years in, a 3 años y medio, el anticristo va a parar el sacrificio. Okay. What's he saying? He's saying that what Daniel is telling us is there's going to be a temple built for the Jews at this time, and they're going to be sacrificing animals. Okay. So lo que nos está diciendo Daniel que en este tiempo de la tribulación, en este tiempo va a haber un templo y va a haber sacrificio de animales como hacían con la ley de Moisés. Pero a los 3 años y medio el anticristo va a parar todo eso. He's going to stop it. Okay, he's going to stop it, and that's what he's saying right here. For it says, he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week, and in the middle of the week he shall cause the sacrifice and the oblation to cease. And he's going to he's going to stop the sacrifice. Va a parar los sacrificios 3 años y medio adentro. Let me finish. And for the overspreading, now here's something you guys have to get: the abomination of desolation. You can write that down. Abomination of desolation. Because it comes up over and over again, and Jesus alludes to it for the end times. Okay? So the abomination, because he says, and for the overspreading of abomination he shall make it desolate, even until the consummation that determined shall be poured upon the desolate. In other words, that at 3.5 years when all this ends, it's going to cause everything to end, even until the end, when everything's all consumed, when everything's finished up. Okay? That's called when the Antichrist goes into the temple at this 3.5 years in, and he goes in, and what does he do? He goes in and he stops the sacrificing of animals. He stops the Jews from doing their sacrifices. Then he goes in to the temple and he declares himself God. He declares himself God, and then he also slaughters supposedly a pig in there or an animal, and he also is going to set up an idol in there. That's called the abomination of desolation. Now, how do we know that? This is what the class is about tonight. the class tonight is, what is the abomination of desolation? It's that, what he's gonna do here, but we're told about it by Daniel way back here. And it's happened one time before in the year 168 BC. Okay. It happened one time before in the year 168, this abomination of desolation. Okay. Now, has everybody got this so far? Everybody got this already? All right.
So
So
you might-
this is the 70 week. You learned this, the 70 weeks of Daniel, and you kind of get it in your head, and you can kind of you get the time zone. You're gonna be way ahead of a lot of people. Okay.
So you might be gonna go over it, and maybe it doesn't matter, but so when he goes into the temple after 3.5 years and declares that he's God, is he declaring that he's Jesus? Thus he's God.
He's declaring
Or
himself
does he
probably as
say
the Messiah.
God? Okay, so the Messiah.
Messiah,
So,
the God,
okay.
yeah. Well, most likely, because it's not real clear. Most likely, they're probably gonna think he's the Messiah.
Okay.
Because that's what we were talking about last week. I know you guys were here, but last week we were saying, will the Jews accept the Antichrist? Because what a lot of scholars believe is that the Antichrist is going to see where it says right here, and he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week. Okay, it's a covenant, not a peace treaty. It's like a contract. It's like it's a pact. And many believe that when he does that, he's going to bring peace to Jerusalem or to the Israel and the Palestinians and the Iranians and all the other Muslim countries that want to destroy Israel. When he does this covenant, what do you think the Jews are going to think he is? You know. Porque el anticristo, porque aquí el anticristo, muchos que estudian dicen que él es el que va a traer paz a Israel. Paz con los palestinos, con Iraq, con Irán, con Turkey, con Syria, con los Egiptos, con Saudi Arabia. Because all those countries, todas esas naciones que no quieren a Israel, all those countries hate Israel. Okay, they're all Muslim countries. Okay, and they hate Israel for being there. Okay, but if he brings in peace, and he brings a covenant, now there's other parts of the Bible in the New Testament where where Paul says peace and safety, but suddenly destruction comes. Okay, he's referring to this time right here. One thing we have to know, and I know we probably have to study it later on, is this period right here is what's in the book of Revelation. And the book of Revelation tells us that at this 3.5 years in is when the wrath of God really begins. Not right at the beginning. It doesn't begin right here. It begins here. And that's where you have the wrath of God, Jacob's trouble, the day of the Lord. When you hear all those words, all those terminations, or those terms, it's talking about 3.5 years in.
That's at the point that the Antichrist sits.
Yeah, at the point that he makes himself God is when the wrath of God really comes upon the earth at that time. But a lot of things happen in between here, and then here. A lot of things still happen, and that's what's in the book of Revelation.
And that's like for right now, like at first Antichrist will come and kind of make peace amongst everybody because everybody's going to be warring and against each other.
Yeah, it's just because things are just going to get worse. Now, what scholars don't know, and then some people say yes, some people say no, because we just don't know. We just don't have it. It doesn't tell us. But this can all happen after the rapture. It doesn't have to happen right before. Okay? Okay, because Paul does tell us the Antichrist won't be revealed until after the rapture. He's clear about that. Okay? Porque Pablo nos dice que el anticristo no vamos a saber quién es, porque no se va a revelar hasta después del rapture. Okay? It's not until after the rapture that his name comes up. So, okay. All right. So if you're trying to guess who he is and all this, you might be right, but you're not gonna know until afterwards. Huh?
You,
Because it won't
and
be
you hope you
revealed.
don't
Yeah,
know.
he won't be revealed until
Yeah, I hope you don't
Yeah, because
know.
you say,
Yeah.
whoa, something went wrong.
Okay. How much time do I got? The gap is between. Okay, so the gap between verse 26 and 27 is the church. Okay, that period of time in the book of Daniel between verses 26 and 27. Because remember, he's over here talking first about 62 weeks and the Messiah being cut off. And then you go to verse 27, and all of a sudden it's this guy here at 3.5 years in is breaking the covenant.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not something that happens right after this. There's a gap. Okay. So, but I want to talk about this abomination of desolation, which is what Daniel is talking about. Who has NIV? Money? Verse 27. Read the whole thing again, one more time. And I think it says it like that in there.
He will confirm a covenant with many for 1 7. In the middle of the 7, he will put an end to sacrifice and offering. And on a wing of the temple, he will set up an abomination that causes desolation
Okay.
until the end that is decreed is poured out on him.
Okay. Until it's poured out. In other words, his end will come. Okay. From that 3.5 years to the end when he's going to be taken away. So this thing of the abomination of desolation. Where am I at here? Okay. Now, let's go to Daniel 11:31. Vamos a Daniel 11:31. Just 11:31. Still Daniel. And before we get there, Daniel chapter 10 and chapter 11. Daniel capítulo 10 y capítulo 11. Okay, we're not going to go through the chapters. We'll be here for another 50 weeks. Okay. So Daniel 10 and 11, just real quick. In Daniel 10, verse 5, Daniel gets a vision of Jesus. Okay. En Daniel, el capítulo 10, versículos 5 y 6, Daniel agarra una visión de Cristo, and you can compare it to Revelation chapter 1, verses 13 through 15. Okay, a little bit of homework. If you want to go check it out, but read Daniel 10, 5, and 6, and then compare it to Revelation 1, 13 through 15. And they're seeing the same vision of Jesus. So, si lees capítulo 10, versículos 5 y 6 de Daniel, y después lees Apocalipsis 1, versículo 13 a 15, vas a mirar que Daniel está agarrando la misma visión que Dios le dio a Juan, de Cristo. Okay. Okay. Now, in chapter 10, in verses 20 and 21 of chapter 10, Gabriel, the angel, tells Daniel that Persia is now at this time Persia is the government, and then that the king of Greece is now that the Grecians are going to come afterwards. Okay, that's the whole chapter is about that. Okay. So en capítulo 10, versículo 20 y 21, el ángel Gabriel le dice a Daniel que los persios son en control, pero después van a venir los griegos. Okay. Daniel, the last part of Daniel, what he's doing is he's setting up history. He's setting up, all this is going to happen. Okay? All this is going to happen. And what he's telling, chapter 11, capítulo 11 de Daniel, Daniel tells him what's happening in this time right here, in the future. Okay? Before the coming of Jesus. Okay? So it's history to us, but to Daniel it's future. Okay. So capítulo 11 de Daniel, el ángel Gabriel le está diciendo a Daniel, es lo que va a pasar en tu tiempo hasta el tiempo de Cristo. Pero ¿de qué está hablando? Está hablando de las naciones que vienen. Dice, primero son los persios y después vienen los griegos. And then chapter 11, he breaks down, I know this is on the side, but he breaks down chapter 11 so precise, exactly how the Grecian government, the Greeks, fought each other, how they fight each other, all the way down to the end. That many people say, well, you know what? It's so precise it had to have been written way afterwards. The critics, they say, there's no way. There's no way Daniel could have known that after Alexander the Great dies, that this king comes, and then another king comes, and then another king comes, and then he marries another daughter, and then they fight, and so forth. And you get all this history, and you compare it to actually, the history that's written down, and it's precise. And so they say there's no way Daniel could have been written. There's no way it could have been written beforehand, because it's too accurate. You see. But that's just the precision of God. You see. Porque Daniel, en ese capítulo 11, quiebra la nación de Grecia, quién son los reyes, con quién se pelean, con quién se casan, con quién, todo eso, el detalle es bien, how do you say, preciso, que muchos dicen, no se puede ser que Daniel que ese libro era escrito antes, porque saben cosas en detalle tan chiquitas. It's so, the details are so minute and so accurate that they say there's no way Daniel could have been written at that time. You see. But remember what I told you? The Septuagint, remember that? The Bible, the Septuagint, the Greek version of the Bible was written before all these things were there and Daniel's in there. So there's no way you can dispute it. Okay? So there's no way you can dispute it. Okay. So that's what chapter 10 and chapter 11 are about. Chapter 11 is the fighting between the Greek generals. Remember when I talked to you about the Greeks? Remember the Greek Empire? And Alexander the Great was the general, the king. And then when he dies, what happens? It doesn't go to his kids or his family. It breaks up into 4 pieces, remember? And each general gets a piece. Remember that? Okay? It divides into 4 generals. The 4 generals divide up the land. Okay? Now, why is that even in here? Okay, the question is, why does the Holy Spirit tell us in chapter 11 how everything is broken up? Because you see, the Antichrist is going to come from one of those generals. He comes from the line of one of those generals. Okay? In other places of the Bible, just so you know, what we call the Antichrist, that guy, he's never called the Antichrist in the Bible. He's never called the Antichrist in the Bible. It says the spirit of Antichrist, but he's never called. He's called the son of perdition. He's called the lawless one. He's called Mr. Big Mouth, all kinds of stuff, but he's never called Antichrist. But he comes from one of the generals, one of the line of the generals of Greece. And that's what chapter 11 tells us. That's why chapter 11 is important in prophecy. Okay? So, but before we get there, what time is it? Okay, so by the time I get there, let's go to Daniel chapter 11, Daniel capítulo 11, which the whole chapter deals with the Greeks fighting, okay? But let's go to verse 31, versículo 31. And I think I'm going to read out of the NIV because it was a little easier to get here. So Daniel chapter 11, verse 31. It says, and now he's talking about this general coming in. He's talking about a general coming into Jerusalem. Okay? Está hablando de un general de Grecia. And va a entrar a Jerusalén. Es lo que es 20:31. Okay? It says, his armed forces will rise up to desecrate the temple fortress and will abolish the daily sacrifice. Then he will set up the abomination that causes desolation. Okay? With flattery, he will corrupt those who have violated the covenant, but the people who know their God will firmly resist. Okay? So, dice que este hombre va a entrar con su ejército y va a desagrar el templo y va a quitar el sacrificio de cada día. So, va a parar el sacrificio. So, what's going on here? This is future for Daniel, but for us, it's past already. Okay? Esto es futuro para Daniel, pero para nosotros, este versículo ya pasó. This happened, can you guys all see? This happened in the year 168 BC. 168 años antes de Cristo. This guy by the name, this guy by the name of Antigonus Epiphanes enters. You know, everyone's heard this before. Okay, this general Antigonus IV Epiphanes is now the leader of the Grecian Empire, of the part that he got. Okay, I'm going to erase this. All right.
I got it now.
Okay. Antigonus Epiphanes, okay, in the year 168 BC, goes into Jerusalem. Okay, he is part of. I can never say it right because it's all Greek. He's part of the Seleucid Empire. Okay, Greece was broken up into 4 pieces. Okay, into 4 parts. And I'm not even gonna try to remember. But there's 2 of them that become dominant. Okay, Greece was broken up by 4. The 4 generals got 4 pieces, but 2 of them become dominant. One is the Seleucids and the other is Ptolemy. Or Ptolemy. Okay, he's the other one. Those are the two that become the big dogs. They're the two. And chapter 11 is nothing but them fighting each other. Daniel gets the prophecy of this guy beats him up, he beats him up, he gets an army, he comes in, and they fight. When you read that whole chapter, that's what it's about. It's about the Greeks, it's about Seleucids and the Ptolemies fighting. But the Seleucids become more powerful. The Seleucid Empire. Now the Seleucid Empire is who? What part did he get? Okay? The Seleucids, Antigonus, Epiphanes, what does he get? He gets the east, which is Syria, Iraq, Iran, Israel is a buffer between both of them. Israel and part of into India. Okay, he gets the whole eastern part. Okay, so that's who Antigonus Epiphanes, when he goes into Rome, and so all this fighting is going on between him and the Ptolemies. Okay, Ptolemy, where's he located at? Egypt. Remember, Egypt was a world empire. Remember? Okay, it was an empire, and he's taken over that whole area. That's why he's called King of the South. When you read your book, okay, that's another thing. When you read chapter 11, the King of the South is Ptolemy. King of the North is the Seleucids. It's Antigonus. Okay, it's his people. Okay, you guys, did I lose you guys? You guys with me? ¿Están conmigo? Ya los perdí de tiro. Okay, all right. So you got the Seleucids and you got the Ptolemies. The Seleucids is Antigonus. Okay. Antigonus the Fourth. Okay. In the year 168, he goes in. He hates the Jews. Este rey Antigonus odia a los judíos because the Jews were trying to make buddies with the Ptolemies. It was a government thing. They were trying to get buddies with the Ptolemies because they treated them a little better. And Antigonus says, I ain't having it. So he goes into Jerusalem and he destroys. He goes in. That's when he goes into the temple and he stops the sacrificing. Remember, there's still a temple there. At the time, there's still a temple here. Remember, it's before Jesus. Okay, so cuando este rey Antigonus entra a Jerusalén en 178 antes de Cristo, entra and he goes in and he goes in and he puts in a statue of Jupiter or of Zeus. You want to call him Zeus, and then he takes a pig in there and he sacrifices a pig in the Holy of Holies. Okay, that's called the abomination of desolation. That's the abomination of desolation. Why? Because in the most holy place, he sacrifices the most unclean animal you can even think of. Okay. Porque este hombre lo que hace, entra al templo y entra al lugar más santo del templo y pone una estatua de Zeus, que es el dios de ellos, y después mata y sacrifica un marrano, un puerco. Y eso es lo que dicen, how do you say desolation?
Desolación.
De la desolación, de abominación. ¿Y por qué? Porque agarra el animal más cochino que no es limpio para los judíos y va y lo sacrifica en el lugar más santo.
That's why it's going to happen again, huh?
That is what
Repeat.
that will be a repeat.
Yeah.
Okay, but that's what we're getting at. Okay, now that happened here. That happened here. Okay, Jesus, in the year 33, after this, when he's telling us in Matthew 24, he says, when you see the abomination of desolation, what Daniel spoke about. Wait a minute. Didn't it already happen once? Yeah. But now Jesus is saying it's going to happen again. He says, when all that happens, leave. He goes, get out, because that's 3.5 years in. Okay. So, so let's go to Mark 24. I'm sorry, Matthew 24. Mateo 24. You see, that's why you want to be a good Bible student, you got to use the whole counsel of God. You got to use the whole Bible, because you're not going to find everything in one little chapter. It's going to be here, here, and here, and you got to put it together. Okay. Mateo 24, versículo 15, verse 15. It says, so when, this is Jesus talking, and he's telling them about the end times. Jesús está aquí, está hablando de los últimos días. Y aquí dice, he says, so when you see standing in the holy place the abomination that causes desolation, spoken of through the prophet Daniel, let the reader understand. We'll stop right there. Okay. ¿Lo tenemos?
Sí.
Mateo 24:15.
Sí.
He says, so when you see it, now, I don't care how many critics there are out there or how many books. If Jesus says that Daniel said abomination of desolation, I can believe that Daniel said the abomination of desolation. Okay. If you don't believe that, and then you got a bigger problem with Jesus. Okay. All right. So, are you with me now? You got it so far?
Yeah,
Okay. I don't want you to get confused. Okay. Mark 13:14. Let's go to Mark 13:14. Marcos capítulo 13, versículo 14. And he also writes, he says, when you see the abomination that causes desolation standing where it does not belong, let the reader understand that those who are in Judea flee the mountains. So here we have it twice in the New Testament, Jesus saying that this abomination of desolation will happen one more time.
What was that?
And that's going to happen in Daniel chapter 9, verse 27, when he says in the middle of the week, he will stop the sacrificing and the oblation, and that's when he does the same thing. Okay? So
13, 14.
So cuando miramos, cuando Jesús aquí en Mateo, cuando Jesús en Mateo y Marcos habla de la desolución, de abominación, I hope I'm saying it right, the desolation of abomination, he's talking about Daniel chapter 9, verse 27. Está hablando de Daniel, capítulo 9, 27, lo que leímos allí. Okay, what did we read? And he shall confirm the covenant for many for 1 week, and in the middle of the week he shall cause the sacrifice and the oblation to cease for the overspreading of abomination that causes desolation. So, God tells is warning the Jews. Lo que está haciendo Jesús está avisando a los judíos, diciéndoles, tengan cuidado. Cuando miren esto, sepan que hay 3 años y medio hasta segunda venida. You see, you understand how he's warning them?
Yeah.
He's warning, he says, hey, when you see the abomination of desolation, and if you understand your book of Revelation and you understand the other prophecies, you understand, because Daniel says 7 weeks, 7 years. The middle of the week is 3.5 years. So that means that the abomination of desolation happens 3.5 years into the 7 years. So to the Jew, it's a warning. It's saying, look, listen up, because you only got 3.5 years before the second coming, before the Messiah shows up, before the Son of Man comes in his glory. And so we have to, that's what all that is. I don't know how many of you have ever read that in the past and not really known where it was. You know, so Daniel 9:27, Daniel 11:31, Matthew 24:15, and Mark 13:14 all talk about this abomination of desolation.
And why does he say that they should go into the mountains and
Flee into the mountains?
and stay?
Pues
Is
es
that
lo que
just
nos
means
está
that
hablando
because
a nosotros, ¿verdad?
of the 3.5 years that are gonna?
Yeah, but there's a reason for it. Hold on a second. ¿Qué pasó?
¿Qué es lo que nos está hablando a nosotros?
A nosotros,
Ya no vamos a estar aquí.
para nosotros no vamos a estar aquí,
Porque
pero
se va a estar rapto.
esto es después del rapture, okay? Pero para nosotros es para avisar y enseñar a otros de lo que viene,
Es
okay?
así que como si eso está pasando y tú lo estás mirando, es que nomás quedan 3 años y medio de tribulación o cosas
Yeah, the tribulation.
horribles que va a pasar en el mundo.
But we can use this for spreading the gospel.
Yeah.
Podemos usar esto para el evangelio de
Ya no vamos a
Cristo.
estar.
No.
Pero se puede usar para el evangelio.
Pues sí.
You can use this because you
Yeah.
warn the people saying, hey, look, this is coming.
And then the people that are going to be staying behind, they're going to have it worse, but they can still.
They can still,
Remember,
We
yeah.
can still see that all these things happen. Okay? Okay. Now the reason you say, why did he say flee to the mountains?
No.
Sí, suegra.
300, sí, son 300.
Los niños que están
700.
chiquitos todavía alcanzan.
Yo
Por-
pienso, ¿verdad?
porque
Que los
ellos
que
son-
están haciendo.
Porque todavía, aunque estén naciendo, ellos todavía son
Ah,
inocentes.
sí.
Pero más después adelante también hay donde Cristo habla de la gente que va a estar aquí en el milenio va a tener oportunidad de nuevo a reconocer quién es Cristo cuando Él ya está aquí. And it's that way back in Revelation.
Okay, let me see here.
The mountain.
The
The
mountain.
question
You're
mark.
gonna explain the
Oh, the
mountain.
mountain, yeah, so,
Probably
the,
because of,
why did he say flee to the
wormwood.
mountains? Because you have other places in the Bible, even here in Daniel,
Yeah, I think
where believers are gonna find a place of refuge. Okay, we're gonna find a place of refuge. Some things it's in Petra, which is in Edom. Okay, because again, we're not doing a book of Daniel because it's in there. It says that Edom and Moab will not, that the Antichrist will not subdue Moab and Edom. Moab and Edom today is Jordan, the country of Jordan, right next to Israel. And many believe that there's a place called Petra.
Right.
You guys have probably seen it. Indiana Jones went there in one of his movies. Okay, but it says that many will go there, and the believers will be safe there while the rest of the stuff happens in the world. So,
But
So that's referring to them over there in
Yes,
the east,
yes.
not everybody go
yeah,
to the
right.
Okay, I
Yeah.
understand.
You got to
are they
remember.
gonna be exempt from the plagues?
Huh?
They'll be. It's a safe place from the plagues too.
Well, the believers, remember, in the book of Revelation, they're kept from.
Oh, because they have
Yeah.
the mark.
They have
Yeah.
a mark. Some are be sealed.
They're sealed.
sealed.
Some will
Yeah.
be sealed, and God will have divine protection over them.
Okay.
It's going to be like a supernatural thing, but yet if you're not, you're going to face everything else. Because remember, the wrath of God is worldwide.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just Israel.
Yeah.
It's worldwide,
Right.
okay? Because when it talks that a third of the oceans are turned to blood, and a third of the water turns to blood, and all that happens, it's the world. It's not just,
Right.
A little late.
it's not, yeah. It's not, yeah. Now, well, I won't get to it, it's too much. Okay, so that's what I wanted to teach you guys tonight, that abomination of desolation, that where it is in the Bible and what it is. It happened, Daniel mentions it. It happened in 168. Okay? It happened in 168. And then afterwards, Jesus, in his day, Matthew 24, warns and says, hey, when you see the abomination, desolation, in other words, it's going to happen again. Okay, you've already had a precursor, you already have a guide to tell you. Okay, now what happened here? What happened here in 168 is when the Jews revolted. They said, we're not having this. And you had what's called the Maccabean revolt, and they go in and they drive out the Greeks, and then eventually the Greeks fall to the Romans, and then that's why the Jews then get part of the control back of Israel by the time of Jesus. Okay.
Okay, now we fast forward towards the end when the Antichrist is here, and that happens. Does he just get to sit and everybody's like, I knew, okay, that's who you are, or is it going to cause another revolt?
Well, there'll be wars.
There will be the
There'll
war,
be wars because remember.
but the temple won't be destroyed just because he did that.
Right. But it doesn't say.
I'm
But
just saying.
it doesn't say, but it
it.
does say that you will have armies. You'll have the kings of the east. You'll have the kings of the south, and you're going to have kings coming against them. Then at the very end, they're all going to get together and try to fight Jesus coming. That's what you call the Battle of Armageddon.
They're
Okay.
going to fight it?
Yeah.
You said?
Yeah, they think they're going to fight Jesus. They
Oh.
think they're going to. That's
I
the
know.
Battle of Armageddon. They're all
Wait a
going to.
minute, can you back that up?
Yeah, they're all going to turn their weapons against it. But the book of Revelation says that just by his eyes, just by the power coming out of his eyes, he'll destroy them all.
But they won't know. What do they? Okay, that just brings up a whole nother.
Right.
I know, and it's crazy when
That's why I
actually
was
when
like-
you get into it, it's even crazier.
Because how do they gather? Like, how do they fight each other? And then they gather, like, and then they're expecting.
Because you're going to have
You're gonna have your
the Antichrist
allies.
will have his forces.
Yeah.
Him based on the guidelines of the Bible is going to say, okay, now during the 7 years we need to align everybody into whatever because we're going to have to fight him.
Yeah, he's not going to have it all that easy. Because if you read Revelation, he's going to have kings come against him. Okay, but he's still going to be powerful.
Yeah.
Okay, And at the very end of time, they're all gonna just meet in the battle in the valley
I
of
thought they were
Megiddo.
fighting
We'll
each
be
other.
allies then, all allies together.
Yeah, they're all allied
But they
together.
are fighting each other. Not fighting, and then all of a sudden they turn. They are fighting each other, but then knowing that
But he gets
he
the,
knows that this is coming,
he
so
gets
then
the
he's
upper
gonna,
hand. he
exactly.
gets the upper hand, and then at the end Jesus comes and just wipes them all down,
Yeah.
and there's not even a fight.
He knows.
It's
and
not
then
even
the
a
battle
fight,
happens.
honestly. It's not even a fight. It's just a defiance of man. Remember, there's a reason I gave you the lesson of the Tower of Babel.
Mhm.
Okay, the Tower of Babel. Why did they build the tower? It was two things. One was we'll build a tower high enough in case a flood ever comes, we won't ever get washed away.
Yeah.
But the other one was
To
they
send
wanted to
themselves
go
the
into
level
heaven.
of- yeah.
They wanted to open a portal and get into heaven and fight God.
Yeah.
Okay, and again and who built Babel? Who built Babel? Nimrod, the first dictator, and he is your first guy that is a precursor of the Antichrist. And they have the same spirit. They want to take over the world. He wants to be God. Da da da. But it doesn't happen. It doesn't end. It doesn't end well for them. Okay. So again, remember. I'm going to repeat it. Prophecy is what? Pattern. Pattern. It's a pattern of something to come. Pattern of something to come, and that's how it works. Okay. Just like this is a pattern of what's going to come in the future. Okay.
So much.
Okay.
It's a lot. You just want to
That's
like.
good.
Okay, so I'm going to close with this. Go to Daniel chapter 12. Daniel capítulo 11. I'm going to finish with this. I'm just going to read it and then I'm going to finish, okay? Because 10 million verse things to come out. Daniel capítulo 12. Okay. Chapter 12. At that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince that stands for the children of your people, and there shall be a time of trouble such as never was since there was a nation, even to that same time. And at that time your people shall be delivered, every one that shall be found written in the book. Okay, so he's talking still about the end times there. He's talking about the end of the tribulation. Okay, aquí Daniel 12 está hablando ya lo último de los días de la tribulación. Okay, he's talking about ya lo último. Okay. Now that there where he says it's going to be trouble like there's never been trouble and shall never be again. Jesus says that also himself in Matthew 24. Okay.
So
Matthew 24:21. En Mateo 24:21 Cristo dice la misma cosa. Dice, en ese tiempo el tiempo va a ser tan mal que no ha habido un tiempo así y nunca va a haber otro tiempo igual a ese tiempo. Okay. Verse 2. And many of them that sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake, some to everlasting life, some to shame and everlasting contempt. He's talking about the end. Okay, ahí está hablando at the end, el último. And they that shall be wise shall shine as the brightness of the firmament, and they that turn to righteousness as the stars forever and ever. Now he's talking to Daniel. Now he says, but you, Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book, even to the time of the end.
So Daniel got to see it.
Daniel got to see
The whole rapture all the way through the end.
yeah, he got to see
But
it.
he just can't.
But
disclose
he
it.
didn't quite understand it either. He'll tell you. Okay.
And that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. So he says. So they said, el ángel le dice a Daniel, pero tú Daniel, dice tú Daniel, he goes, cierra las palabras y pone un sello en el libro hasta el tiempo del último, hasta los tiempos últimos, until the time of the end. Now I feel in the spirit that we're now in the spirit now, the Holy Spirit now has opened up this book to us and has now revealed to us what's shut up is now open to us. Porque yo creo en mi espíritu que Daniel parece, all this time, this whole time up to Jesus and all that is sealed up. Estaba cerrado el libro. But it says until the time of the end, pero hasta el tiempo ya último. You can open it up. It opens up. Okay. And this is what we're studying. And that's why we have revelation of what's happening or what's going to happen.
And like in 4 says that knowledge is going to be increased.
It says, and many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall be increased. But what does that mean? It says, many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall be increased. Well, in the Hebrew, it means that knowledge of the Word of God, knowledge of the Scriptures.
Understand it more.
Yeah,
Knowledge
to
of the
understand it
Scriptures,
more,
to
just like
understand
you
what's
said,
going
yeah.
on, will be given.
I
Then
have to ask, I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
before you go too much further, I just want to know, so it says, and at that time Michael shall stand up. Just to clarify, Give me a rundown. Who's Michael?
Michael the Archangel.
Is the archangel.
Is the
Yeah, I wanted
archangel.
to make sure. So okay.
And then it
So
says
he's gonna stand up. Okay.
it says all the people who are found written in the book and escape.
Those are just like it says in the book of Revelation, there are books that are written in the book of life. That's what he's talking about.
Right.
Those people that make it through the tribulation, the people that make it through and did accept Jesus, well, their names will be found in the book of life.
Later. Okay.
Yeah, that's what it's saying.
Okay.
Okay. Mara, if you go to Daniel 10,
Uh huh.
okay. Go to Daniel 10, verse 13. En Daniel capítulo 10, versículo 13. Daniel is fasting. Daniel está
Okay, so,
en
yeah, okay.
and Daniel's fasting, and then he's fasting, and then Gabriel appears to him. El ángel Gabriel se le aparece. Después de 21 días que está ayunando, ayuno, ¿se dice?
En ayunas.
Está en ayuno Daniel por 21 días. Y después it says, but the prince of the king, he's talking, it says, but the prince of the kingdom of Persia withstood me 21 days, but then Michael, one of the chief priests, princes, came to help me, and I remained there with the king of Persia. Now I am come to make and then he comes and talks to him, okay? What's he saying? I don't know if you understand this. What's saying is Daniel was praying for 21 days. He was asking for, because remember in chapter 9, he's getting all this information and he's praying for 21 days. Lord, give me more. I need to know.
Yeah.
Okay, he quiere saber más. But then it says, Gabriel says, the minute you started praying, I was sent with a message to give you, which is chapter 10 and chapter 11. Okay, and 12. Okay, en el minuto que Daniel comenzó a orar, dice que Gabriel el ángel agarró la palabra de Dios para darle a Daniel. But it says that when he was on his way, the prince of Persia stood and stopped him. And they battled for 21 days. But we're
So he
seeing,
had the answer right away.
he has the answer, but what's happening here, what I want you to understand is that while Gabriel the angel is coming to give Daniel the information that he gives him, that in the heavenly kingdoms, in the spiritual, there's a war going on because the prince of Persia goes and stops him. And then he says, it wasn't until after 21 days that Michael the archangel showed up to help me, and then I was able to come and give you the message.
Wow. That's
You have to understand that there's fighting in heaven. There's war up there.
Fighting for
There's
us.
spiritual warfare that we don't even know about.
and around.
And and you want an answer from God? All of a sudden, there could be something in the heavens that's happening that we don't understand. You see,
So fighting for you.
fighting for you. Well, yeah, the angels are God's, but then Satan has his angels.
Fighting
Now,
against you.
here's another thing here too. What's this prince of Persia? ¿Qué es ese príncipe de Persia? And then he says, after he's gone, then I got to go fight the prince of Greece. Okay, in the same, that's what you got to read. That's why you got to read the whole chapter, read the whole thing. Okay, porque dice que después del príncipe de Persia, Gabriel dice, después tengo que ir a pelear el príncipe de Grecia, primero de Persia y después de Grecia. You see, we have to, and Michael the archangel. You see, we hear of Michael the archangel. Michael the archangel. Every time you read about him, what he is, he's the guard over Israel. He guards Israel. Miguel el arcángel es arcángel, pero su trabajo es de proteger Israel. Israel. Every time you hear Gabriel, he's always a messenger.
Yeah.
He's always bringing a message either to Daniel, to Mary, or every time he appears. El ángel Gabriel, cada vez que lees en la Biblia, él viene con un mensaje. But Michael is a warrior. He's a fighter. Okay? Because in the ranks of angels, they all have different jobs. Okay? En el trabajo de los ángeles, todos tienen diferentes trabajos. Unos son de ejército, como Miguel. Otros son mensajeros. Okay? When you read the book of Revelation, they got different jobs. There's different things in there. I mean, it's just another big study on angels.
Michael's a guard.
He's a guard. He guards it. But that makes you think. Makes you think. What principalities up there in the air right now are taking care of Iran, are taking care of Iraq, are taking care of Lebanon, are taking care of this? Are they all fighting Michael up there at this point right now to hold him back so nothing happens? You guys, you see what I'm saying?
So in the supernatural,
In the
there's even way
supernatural.
worse
Now,
than
does
that
God
is.
say? Now the question is, and I don't know, does God send princes over every nation? Do we have one over this country?
I think so.
I do, I
I mean,
believe.
tenemos uno por este país. Y Michael es el de Israel. Y hay uno para Persia y uno para los griegos. Hay uno para los romanos. Hay unos, we don't know, so, we have to remember that all this is spiritual also. It's not just here on the earth. There's things in the heavens. Hay cosas en el cielo que están pasando. Porque aquí Gabriel, por 21 días, se peleó con el príncipe de Persia. No lo dejó que viniera y darle el mensaje a Daniel hasta que vino Miguel, el arcángel, y lo ayudó. Y después pudo venir. Okay, so that's who Michael is. Okay, that's who Michael is. All right, let me finish this thing. So we're finishing already. Okay. It says, Then I, Daniel, looked, and behold, and there stood two other on the side of the bank of the river, and other two on the other side of the bank. And one said to the man clothed in linen, which was upon the waters of the river, How long shall there be to the end of these wonders? And I heard the man clothed in the linen, which was upon the waters of the river, which he held up his right hand and his left hand to heaven, and swear by him that lives forever, that it shall be for a time, times, and a half. Times, a time, a times, and half a time. That's another way of saying 3.5 years. Time is 1, times is 2, and then half, so it's got 3. Okay.
Let's tell Violet that next
Okay.
time she wants to.
Okay. Now this is for us. And I heard, but I understood not. Daniel dice, oí, pero no entendí. Then said, Oh my Lord, what shall be the end of these things? Señor, ¿qué va a ser lo último de estas cosas? I mean, can you imagine? And can you imagine Daniel looking at all that and given the vision? I mean, and then not understanding. And he says, Lord, what's the end of all this? ¿Qué es lo último? And then he says, now this is for us too. This is for us. He says, Go your way, Daniel. Go your way, for the words are closed up and sealed to the time of the end. Again, he says it. Okay? But here he says, Many shall be purified and made white and tried, but the wicked shall do wickedly, and none of the wicked shall understand. But the wise shall understand. Okay? Understand that even today. We constantly hear you guys say, how come the Jews don't understand? How come people don't understand what's here? ¿Por qué los judíos no entienden? ¿Por qué la gente no puede mirar esto? Because he says here, many shall be purified. Many are going to see. Muchos van a mirar y creer y entender por what? Because of the Holy Spirit. The Espíritu. Okay? He says, but the wicked shall do wickedly. And the none of the wicked shall understand. No los que son de maldad van a entender. Okay? It says, but the wise shall understand. The wise, los que son sabios van a entender. Okay? You see, I can be up here and do videos every day, and I can talk every day and everything, but you're still going to have people out there that are just wicked, and they're not going to care. And they're not going to understand. Porque uno puede predicar, uno puede enseñar, ustedes pueden salir y hablar con gente, pero si una persona tiene el corazón duro, nunca va a oír.
Until it's too late.
Never hear.
They're gonna
Never
learn.
hear. Okay, and what's sad is that even in the book of Revelation, it tells that even in the tribulation, with all the wrath and the stuff that comes to the earth, there's men are still going to be cursing God's name. That's just the way it is. That's just the way it is. But our job is what? To bring the gospel of Jesus Christ so people, because if the rapture does happen, they don't go through this. That's why. ¿Por qué tenemos que saber esto? Porque saber lo que va a pasar para cuando compartimos el Evangelio de Jesucristo es para que almas no vayan a pasar por lo que va a pasar en el mundo. Read the book of Revelation. You don't want to be here. Si lees el libro de Apocalipsis, no quieres estar aquí para eso. You don't want your loved ones to be here. It's a time of wrath, the wrath of God. It's broken up, the wrath of Christ, the Son, and then there's the wrath of God. There's la ira de Cristo y después la ira de Dios. All together, and you don't want to be here. But here, I kind of read this and I thought, I think it's a good way to put it. Many shall be purified and made white. Muchos van a ser purificados y van a ser limpios. Even in the rapture, and even in the tribulation, there will be people that come to Jesus. Okay? But the wicked shall do wickedly, and none of the wicked shall understand, but the wise shall understand. The question that we got, are you wise? ¿Tú eres sabio? Are you wise? I like Paul, how I always say this. I like the way Paul, when he talks in Ephesians, in his letter, he says, well, I'm writing to wise men. You are wise men, right? Estoy hablando con hombres sabios, and the padre dice, son hombres sabios, ¿verdad? You are wise. You are going to get what I'm telling you. See, we have to go beyond we have to go beyond all the stuff that we've heard before, or the rhetoric, or the common sayings and all that. No. Get into the word so that we know exactly what the word is saying. Tenemos que meternos a la palabra para saber directamente qué dice la palabra, no nomás lo que son dichos o cosas que oímos un poquito aquí. No, but let's put it all together. All right. So with that, I'm going to close the class. Let's just pray so we can close.
It was late, but it was